said there are three essential regularities in science. There's the existence of the individual scientist, the existence of the community of scientists, the scientific community, and also matter. So, okay, we talked about the individual consciousness. Now, what about community? The existence of the individual subject can't be explained physically. So the correspondence between various individual subjects also can't be explained physically. So then there must be a universal, inconceivable energy that's coordinating all of this. And as already mentioned, the intersubjective verifiability entails an intersubject, something can actually connect up the various subjects. There's good evidence from the behavior of shoals of fish, flocks of birds, flocks of bats also, that they're guided not just by their individual efforts, because if it was just by the individual efforts, it would be very chaotic. But if you watch films of fish, for example, when they're being chased by dolphins or cormorants or whatever, you see that the whole group moves out of body. It's not at all chaotic. Recently, they've been able to track gigantic shoals, hundreds of millions of fish in the Atlantic, herring. And they found that once large shoals get over a critical density, this chain reaction comes, and it synchronizes the movements of millions of fish together. So what's guiding them? The obvious thing is that there's universal consciousness is managing the whole shoal just as it helps the individual. Another example is with birds. There was one researcher called Edward Sellis. He spent a long time observing birds. He described rooks rising up from a field like a leaping up of black flame. So instantaneous and unanimous was it. It was transfused thought transferent, collective thinking practically. What else could it be? Starlings he described also. He said, how without some process of thought transference so rapid as to amount practically to simultaneous collective thinking are these things to be explained? And then ants, for example. We see that ants cooperate on huge tasks. For example, white ants in a nest are blind, deaf, but groups will start on opposite sides and they start building arches and then they'll meet in the middle. So how does it all happen? It's all coordinated by someone or something. So an economical explanation is that there's universal consciousness which acts as a coordinating agency. So it's reasonable to suppose that there is universal consciousness acting as the basis not only of the individual consciousness, but also of collective consciousness or community. We need a knowledge system that gives us complete, consistent, certain, relevant knowledge that's going to help us to understand what is the nature of the crisis that we're in, what would be an ideal situation, and how to get from where we are to closer to where we want to get. The consciousness-based paradigm which we find in the Vedic wisdom tradition is well adapted for that. Well adapted. In fact, it's specifically designed for that. It's designed to tell us how to live peacefully and happily and what to do if you've gone off track. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, the matter-based materialistic paradigm is not designed to help us to understand what's going wrong in the world, what's happening in our consciousness, or how to get to a higher consciousness, how we can agree on anything except the desire to enjoy matter. I just want to point out some very essential aspects of society which, on the one hand, show that consciousness is necessary, higher values are necessary and work, and spirituality is necessary and works. And on the other hand, point out that these aspects of society are essential, and you can only get them through a positive consciousness-based paradigm. So leadership, let's talk about leadership. if you look at the highest rated historical leaders, often pretty well close to the top of the list would be people like Abraham Lincoln and Martin Luther King. So you find that these are people who are very, very clear about their personal values and very clear about matters of principle. They lived and died for matters of principle. And this is an essential aspect of society. So research has shown that what enables somebody to make a real commitment to a cause, commitment to a company even, commitment to a group, commitment to anything, is not so much being clear about having a set of values imposed on them, but being clear about their own personal values. If someone is clear about their own personal values, they will make a commitment, a steady, stable commitment to a particular way of living, a particular group, a particular company, and so on. But if they're not clear about their personal values, they'll be wavering. The Vedic wisdom tradition, the Vedic society, is geared to help the individual. Albert Einstein, he pointed out that society should exist for the individual, not individual for society. And the Vedic society is meant for that purpose. It's meant that everybody, can live collectively, peacefully, but the individual can make spiritual advancement. So the Vedic society does help people to be clear about their own personal values. And some very prominent researchers on leadership in America, they say to act with integrity, you must first know who you are. You must know what you stand for, what you believe in, and what you care about. Clarity of values will give you the confidence to make the tough decisions, to act with determination, and to take charge of your life. This is a recipe for leadership. How can we have society without leadership? And if leadership depends on knowing yourself, how can you have leadership in a paradigm that tells you that you don't exist? You have to have leadership within a paradigm that tells you, yes, you do exist, and yes, you can develop your conscious qualities. So these same people, they say, the instrument of leadership is the self. And mastery of the art of leadership comes from mastery of the self. Self-development is about leading out of what is already in your soul. It's about liberating the leader within you. It's about setting yourself free. This kind of approach to life is not possible within a materialistic paradigm, because there's no question of the self, there's no question of individuality, there's no question of becoming free, there's no question of having initiative, dignity, responsibility, any of these things. They're meaningless. They're completely meaningless within a materialistic paradigm. So, maybe that's just rhetoric. No, it's not rhetoric. It's been tried and tested in the biggest laboratory in the world, business. If something's real and it works for business, that means it's really real. So in business, they find that companies with culture based on shared values outperform other companies. For example, they generate revenue 4 times faster. Their rate of job creation is 7 times as fast. The stock price rises 12 times as fast. And their profit performance is 750% higher. Values work. A company based on values, shared values, works better than a company based on pure profit, a materialistic profit. That means that this values is something that it's real. It's not imaginary. It corresponds to a real state of the self. One, Louis Gunning, he's the head of Unilever in Southeast Asia and Australasia. Big businessman. He says, it's our souls that give us guidance and wisdom. And it's our souls that animate human qualities of love, compassion, and honesty. Now, these are from business people.